Hello everyone. Welcome to Let's Know the Botany series, where you will find everything about plant sciences. Please like, share, and subscribe the channel. Your comments are most welcome. Myself, Dr. Sujit Jadhav, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, SBR College Mhaswad, Taluka Man, District Satara. Today we are going to discuss about southern blotting. The main objectives of this particular lecture, they are something like this. The first objective is to make a complex process converted to a simple and understandable language for a common student. Designing the entire lecture with graphical solutions. The information availability to the graduate and undergraduate students of the botany. So before starting with the discussion of southern blotting, one should understand about these different blotting techniques. Different blotting techniques are used to identify unique proteins and nucleic acid sequences. Blotting is generally done by gel electrophoresis, where a mixture of DNA or RNA or protein flow through a slab of gel. This gel allows small molecules to move faster than bigger ones. The separated molecules are then pressed against a membrane, which helps move the molecules from the gel onto the membrane. The molecules stick to the membrane but stay in the same location apart from each other as if they were still in the gel. Blotting techniques are selected based on the target molecules. The target may be a mixture of DNA or RNA or the proteins. As far as history of blotting is concerned, in the photo you may found Professor Edwin Southern, who has invented first of all this particular blotting technique. Southern blotting is named after its inventor, the British biologist Professor Edwin Southern in 1975, as a method to detect specific sequences of DNA in the DNA samples. The other blotting techniques emerged from this method have been termed as Nathan for separation of RNA sequences, Western blotting technique for separation of proteins, Eastern blotting technique for post-translational protein modifications, and Southwestern for DNA protein interactions blotting techniques. So mainly there are three different types of blotting techniques. The first one is southern blotting, which is used to detect amount of DNA in a mixture. Northern blotting, which is used to detect RNA in the mixture. And western blotting for separating proteins by their size. So this is the procedure for separation of DNA, RNA and the protein by different techniques, what we call them as a southern blotting or northern blot or western blot. The entire procedure is quite similar, but the resultant is different. As far as southern blotting is concerned, southern blotting is named after its inventor, Professor Edwin Southern in 1975. Southern blotting is a detection technique used to find the target DNA sequences in the DNA sample in the field of molecular biology. Let's discuss some principles of southern blotting. The first principle is that the southern blotting technique process involves the transfer of electrophoresis separated DNA fragments to a carrier membrane, which is usually nitrocellulose, and the subsequent detection of the target DNA fragment by probe hybridization. This process involves separation, transfer, and hybridization. The DNA detected in this technique can be a single gene or a large part of DNA like viral genome. Hybridization is the key to this particular method. So as far as hybridization is concerned, it is the process of forming a double-stranded DNA between a single-stranded DNA probe and a single-stranded target DNA. Since the probe and target DNA are complementary to each other, the reaction is specific, which aids in the detection of the specific DNA fragment. So these are some different steps that have been involved in the Southern blot. We will discuss them one by one. The first step, that is extraction and purification of DNA from the cell. DNA is first separated from target cells following standard methods of genomic DNA extraction and then purified. Step 2 involves restriction digestion or DNA fragmentation. Here, restriction endonucleases, that is the enzymes that have been used to cut high molecular weight DNA strands into smaller fragments. One or more restriction enzymes can be used to achieve such fragments. Third step involves separation by electrophoresis. The separation may be done by agarose gel electrophoresis, in which the negatively charged DNA fragments move towards the positively charged anode. The distance moved depending upon its size. The step 4 is of depurination. Partial depurination is done by the use of dilute HCl, which promotes higher efficiency transfer of DNA fragments by it breaking down into smaller pieces. The fifth step is a denaturation. DNA is then denatured with a mild alkali such as an alkaline solution of NaOH. This causes the double-stranded DNA to become single-stranded, making them suitable for hybridization. DNA is then neutralized with NaCl to prevent rehybridization before addition of the probe. The sixth step is of the blotting. The denatured fragments are then transferred onto a nylon or nitrocellulose filter membrane, which is done by placing the gel on top of a buffer saturated filter paper. Then laying nitrocellulose filter membrane on the top of gel. Finally, some dry filter papers are placed on the top of the membrane. Fragments are pulled towards the nitrocellulose filter membrane by capillary action and the result in the contact print of the gel. The seventh step is of the baking. The nitrocellulose membrane is removed from the blotting stack and the membrane with single-stranded DNA bands attached onto it is baked in a vacuum or regular oven at 80 degrees Celsius for 2 to 3 hours or exposed to ultraviolet radiation to permanently attach the transferred DNA onto the membrane. The eighth step is of hybridization, which is important one. The membrane is then exposed to a hybridization probe, which is a single DNA fragment with a specific sequence whose presence in the target DNA is to be determined. The probe DNA is labeled so that it can be detected, usually by incorporating radioactivity or tagging the molecule with a fluorescent or chromogenic dye. The step 9th is of washing of unbound probes. After hybridization, the membrane is thoroughly washed with a buffer to remove the probe that is bound non-specifically or any unbound probes present in it. And the last step, that is of autoradiograph, that is the hybridized regions are detected autoradiographically by placing the nitrocellulose membrane in contact with a photographic film which shows the hybridized DNA molecules. The pattern of hybridization is visualized on X-ray film by autoradiography in case of a radioactive or fluorescent probe is used, or by the development of color on the membrane if a chromogenic detection method is used. There are different applications of Southern blotting technique. The first one is identifying specific DNA in a DNA sample. The second one, the use of Southern blotting, is preparation of RFLP that is restriction fragment length polymorphism maps. The third application of Southern blotting is detection of mutations, deletions or insertions or gene rearrangements in the DNA. The another application of Southern blotting, which is important one, where DNA fingerprinting can be done, which is further used for criminal offense detection. It may be useful for the diagnosis of infectious diseases also. The prognosis or prenatal diagnosis of cancer and other genetic diseases can also be achieved with the help of Southern blotting. So concluding this particular lecture, this is how we can identify unique proteins and nucleic acid sequences using Southern blotting technique. Thank you. Thank you very much.